Welcome to Blue Tinted Glasses, the home of Leicester City talk on YouTube. Fan debates, live watch-alongs, post-match reactions, and all the Foxes banter you could ask for. Subscribe now and see the game through Blue Tinted Glasses.
Jones just into race clear. He's got Jamie Vardy with him. Jamie Vardy sets off. Jamie Vardy! Pull back here for Darwin. Oh, he scored! An absolute belter! That is trademark Abdul Fatahwood.
This one into the box. Nugent over the top. Oh, what a goal! David Nugent's just scored a beauty. He's made Forest look like fools.
Premier League champions 2016. The amazing Leicester City.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Blue Tinted Glasses. It's time for the Tuesday Night Tactics Show. This is where we play real-life Football Manager and have a look at what is and isn't working at Leicester City. But I am very blessed tonight because I am joined by the Wes Morgan to my Robert Huth. It is the captain of Blue Tinted Glasses FC. Lux, he's back. Good evening, Lux. How you doing, mate? Long time no see.
Yeah, man. It's what are we today? We're Tuesday. So yeah, like 2 weeks, over 2 weeks since me and you both did a stream together. So yeah, good to be back. Although I was just telling a nil off stream. Well, 5 days since being back from holiday, and I've got some kind of flu, so that's not very good. But yeah, all good other than that, mate. All good.
Oh man, that sucks. Hope you get better soon. Whilst you were over in Turkey, you did get to catch some of the games. What was your sort of feeling from afar, looking at what was going on in Leicester City land?
Well, the Wrexham game, I was just like absolutely shattered. So I don't remember too much, but I remember it being very much more of the same of the previous few games, right? The other three draws that we got. I think still, even despite us conceding goals, I still watch us and I think I don't really see us like dropping points here, to be honest with you, even though we did draw 4 in a row. And it was the same there. We just always look not necessarily better, because I think during periods of games, and still even the Swansea game, during periods the other team look maybe more likely to score. But I just feel like we have way too much, and we're gonna score. We're gonna get the points. And yeah, very much more of the same. I think the Swansea game, again, it wasn't too dissimilar. I think you had two moments especially that were just, Premier League quality moments, I think you could call it, from Abdul and JJ. But I do think there was improvements there for sure. And I think this will continue to happen, even if we have only slight improvements every now and then. I think we will continue to improve. And, I think I said on Twitter, I'll have to find the tweet, but I'm pretty sure I said on Twitter after the Sheffield Wednesday game, so the first game of the season, that I think October is when we will see the best of Leicester under Marti. So he better get a move on. I mean, it's coming up. But to be honest, I do expect us to have a good October. Fingers crossed, I expect us to have a good October.
Let's hope you're right. I think you're right, especially if we look at the fixtures, which we'll come to later. But let's just have a look. So anyway, tonight's show, this is actually a sort of part 2. So Duck and I last week, we looked at the Swansea game and a little bit about how the season's gone. But what I wanted to do tonight is a bit like Football Manager. You start off with one tactic, but often as the season goes by, you change the tactic over a little bit. So we're going to have a look at the season so far. We're going to see like our approaches starting all the way from pre-season and working way through. But don't worry, Lux, I don't think this one will go on too long. So don't worry about if you're not feeling too well. But we're going to have a look at those tactical tweaks, and we're also going to have a look at what Marti needs to work on going next. Because, I think I would probably say a bit like you that it's kind of crazy. We're third in the table, but if I'm being honest with you, Lux, I don't think we've had a single good performance all season. But that if I was the rest of the championship, I'd be worried because if you can be third without playing well, then what the hell is going to happen when you do play well? That's just my feeling.
I don't agree. Yeah, I get what you're saying. I think I would agree if you said we haven't played as well as we should have yet. I would agree with that. I do think there's been some good performances in there. Granted, not for full 90 minutes, but 2 years ago it was a freak, right? Like Enzo came in, everything went perfectly from minute one, and there was a little bit of a stumble halfway through. Maybe August and September were Marti's February and March what Enzo had, right? Yeah. I mean, that's hopeful thinking, right? I'm sure we'll have a blip later on in the season as well, but I just think, under any normal circumstance, it takes a manager time, takes the players time. Our confidence was on the floor. You've got to think that the first year we were relegated, when Enzo came in, there was less fixing to do because we had such an influx of new players. So it wasn't we didn't have a team full of players with confidence on the floor. We had some new players, whereas this year we did have a team literally full of players with low confidence. So it was always going to take longer. But I think saying we haven't played well yet is a little bit harsh. I think it's a little bit harsh.
Fair enough. Well, I wanted you to cast your mind back because there was one game that I think we did play very well in. The problem is, it wasn't in the season itself. It was this game against Fiorentina. So if you cast your mind back, this was the final pre-season game. And this was our lineup. Now, we did have various things in there. You might have, for example... Oh, sorry, yes. That's the sound of Bilal, who is still in the team here. But this is how we lined up for this one. And, there was no wings. We had Ayu up front. We did have Fatau in the team. But I wanted to show you a little clip of this game. And I wanted to ask you, what did you notice whilst we're watching this game? So this is Fiorentina with the throw-in. And I thought we were really, really good in this game. So you can say a bit of a pressure there from Fatau for that, attacking with 4 people. Inside channel. Even the rat gets in on the action.
Yeah.
It's goal.
Yeah.
So what strikes you about that particular move?
Well, the high press, and also Bilal as well, getting into that box very quickly, which I don't think we've seen enough of. Yeah. Which I don't... By the way, just very, very quick side note. Have you seen he's like the number 1 attacking midfielder in Europe so far, which is nuts. But anyway, the high press there, mate, is the number 1 thing I noticed. And also just Bilal getting very into the box very quickly, which I think others in that 10 position so far have struggled with a little bit.
Yeah, bingo. I would agree with you 100% in terms of what you've just said there. And I think when we saw that game, just to give you some kind of coverage as well, like these are the 2 sort of pitch positions of the teams. Now, this is Leicester. And you can see what's interesting is we're not necessarily that high up. I think our back 5 are quite high, but the front 5 aren't necessarily that high. But if I look at a team like as good as Fiorentina are, and we've basically made them camp inside their own half for the whole game. So that's really, really impressive. And when I saw that game, I was like, wow, okay, I'm really impressed because, to play against a really good team like Fiorentina, we showed how they have a squad that's more valuable than our squad even, right? Now, they did make some changes and, didn't play their strongest team from the start in this game. But the fact that with the high press was so effective in that game, we scored a really nice goal like that. I think even Bilal at the time, the fact that he got stuck in like that was surprising as well. So that I thought was going to be the blueprint for what Marti's going to try. And I do think that's what he wants us to be like. But it's a fact that we haven't been like that. So that was when things were good. But the issue is when you're playing a press is this word, the transition, right? It's unfortunately not as busted as gegenpressing in Football Manager, which we'll see if things happen. And, we started off with the first game. That was pretty good. But we did get a bit of a shot quite early on. And it was this game, was the Preston game, 2-1.
Yeah.
And what happened in this game is... Well, here you can see again, here was our average pitch position. And this is quite brave, right? So we've only gone for a back 3 here, right? So not even a back 4. It's 3 people at the back. We pushed right up high. And that means that you've got Yannick Vestergaard here, number 23, and Luke Thomas here on the left-hand side. You've got Akoli there on the right. You're trying to pack up the midfield. And you can see that in this particular game, it was Mavadidi who was instructed to attack the fullback. And so the problem is that often leaves you in a position like this. Now, this is actually a QPR team under Marti as well. So it's something that we were expecting. And let me ask you, so let's say that they've got the ball here for a throw-in or whatever. Where is the weakness in the QPR or Leicester setup in this particular thing? Like, what would you do as a tactic? What area would you hit here?
Long diag to the left, or our left, their right, the opposition right. Yeah.
You can see this guy's good in the Football Manager leagues, that's for sure. That's exactly...
I love a diag. Who
doesn't? I mean, we ourselves at Leicester love a diag. We've got, Yannick Vestergaard's very good at playing. Even FaZe, I think, is pretty good. So yeah, that is the ball that you're looking for, because you've got a player that's pushed up and there's an obvious gap if you can get the ball there quickly. And the tactic here is you're going to try and stop that pass from ever coming by smothering them with this press. The problem is we see in this game, this is quite early on, Preston win the ball back. They play it to their right back. And the first thing they're looking for is they're looking for that ball over the top, which they play. And you're already in a bit of danger stations. Because as you say, with the way that we line up, you've got Luke Thomas, and we've got Yannick Vestergaard here. You've got Coley, who was in the team at this point, and even James Justin, who obviously was sold. So this was after this game.
Yeah.
And so you end up in this position. And you can already see they've got two men now in front of their defenders in Luke Thomas and Yannick Vestergaard. And at this point on, Vestergaard's out of the equation, right? He's not going to catch anyone. We know this. He's good at certain things, but this is where he can get exposed. And to be fair, he's got his teammate here to help him. But in this particular game, Stolarczyk comes running out, and it's an easy finish then. Well, not easy, but it's a finish that's well taken by Preston, but it's a totally open goal, and we get caught there. So that was for one. And that can happen in a game. I think most of us thought that actually, if anything, that was more of a one of these from I'd also say Luke Thomas as well, getting caught out being high up the pitch. But in the same game, we also got to see this. Now, this is Yannick Vestergaard with pace. And as you can see, that's why we've got a red cross, because that's something you'll never see, only in his dreams. And so we're chasing to try and get back into the game. We'd already conceded for 2-1. Press and get the ball up here. Look how high we've pushed. But it's a very easy ball. Comes there midfield, who just smashes it downfield, 1-on-1. And here you can even see that Vestergaard's actually in front of Osmajic, who is their striker. But he still gets beaten for pace, runs on through, and actually this didn't go in, but it should have gone in, right? And this is something that we got exploited for many times during the game. So this, I think, was a big kind of wake-up call. And as Sean said, Vestergaard has no pace, so you can't play too high a line if he has to defend. Bingo. That's exactly what the issue was. And so what the tweak Marti decided to make is, you can see here the difference in approach between the games. So against Preston, we're pushed way up higher, trying to create this high press, but there's massive space in behind. And for the very next game, which was a real struggle, and we're probably lucky to win this, luckily for Tau, who bailed us out, but you can see he decided to put both the CDMs, you got both the cloggers there in Sumare and Skip at this point in the team. Winks was still on his will he won't he bit. And we've actually defending with a 4. So to be fair, this was the game where Charlton as well, they went for a kind of man-to-man press and it restricted us. But you can see that was a clever tweak, because I remember at the time when we were doing the watch long, we were thinking, oh man, if Marti's going to start with Vestergaard and Luke Thomas for this match, we're doomed. But he did, and we were still pretty stable because he made this particular tweak of moving to this shape. But the problem is, well, let me ask you. So now that you're playing with this kind of setup, what's going to sort of be the downfall of the team now if you decide to line up like this?
Well, you're not as attacking. You've not got as many players forward, and unless you risk it, or unless the player risks it, you're not going to get the midfielders. You're not going to get as many midfielders into the box, box crashing, which is what we love to see. And I mean, I don't notice too many tactical tweaks, but I think it was recognizable instantly from the Preston to the Charlton game how much deeper we sat, and kind of how there were probably less risks being taken. Although Vestergaard still does love a lunge in, on the halfway line and losing the ball. Yeah,
absolutely. So that was kind of the issue, but it did stabilize us for a bit, which I think was useful. Yes. But then of recent, what's happened, which I think is good to see, is that we have now started to push back up higher against opposition. So last couple of games, I think after being a bit lethargic, and I think the big reason is you can see that we had like a kind of change in personnel. So apologies for the numbers being upside down. I just tried to make it so you could see them both being the same direction, but it's still relevant. So here you can see us up against Wrexham. And you can see that because Wrexham really parked the bus, I think this game we had like 72% possession. You can see just how high up we are. And really, it was criminal that we allowed that game to be 1-1. We just, Marti did say that we were arrogant, especially taking the lead early. But he can see against even Swansea, we're still going a little bit back to how we were before, where you've still got I would say the difference is Yannick is hanging back a little bit more than, being parallel to Wout Faes here. But you can see we have gone back to this kind of back three. And you talked about box crashes, and you can see that players are pushing up higher. So I think this has resulted in better performances. Like, even though Wrexham was disappointing to get a draw, I think actually, had we have won that game, let's say 1 or 2-0, we'd have probably said it was one of the best performances of the season. So for me, that was the frustrating thing about the game, is we did look good. We sort of took the foot off the gas. Swansea was an interesting one, but I feel like they got a penalty out of absolutely nothing that they didn't deserve. And the last 20 minutes, we sort of spoke about it last week. I think we actually did look good. And if we play like that rest of that 20 minutes for the rest of the season, we're going to look quite good in total. So
Neil,
what I wanted to ask you is, go on, sorry, yeah.
So I was going to very quickly just say, if you go back to can I also see the slide before that, the Preston Charlton positions? Okay, cool. Yeah, I was just trying to look at the difference in average position between Ayew and Daka as well in the team.
Very interesting. You should mention that, because that might be my next question. So you're obviously the blue tinted glasses hive mind is working again. Clearly, we all play a lot of Football Manager. So what I was going to ask you and for everyone in chat is that I think we have improved, and I think there's been 3 key players that are the reason for this change. And it's why we've improved from the start of the season. Because I think that is the big thing. You mentioned how with Enzo, we started right out of the traps immediately. But that's because we pretty much had the team that we were going to end with. I mean, to be fair, under Enzo, we didn't have Abdul right away. He came in a little bit later. But we did have Mavadidi, we had Dewsbury Hall, we had Winks, we had... Actually, Cody got injured, but we had enough cover, that sort of thing. We had Jamie Vardy, we had Iheanacho. The Vardy didn't even start, which was kind of interesting. But I think there's been 3 key players. So what do you think are the 3 key players, in your opinion, of sort of recent uptick in form?
How recent? Because I would say Winks, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
I would say Jordan James.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say Ricardo.
Okay, interesting. So I've gone for, yes, I've gone for these 3. I think Ricardo as well is a good one. I didn't mention him in this because I guess I could only fit 3 on a slide. Yeah. But yes, bingo. It's these particular 3 that I think are the reason why. And, I said we'd play this, so let's get it out right now. Jordan James has definitely been a revelation, probably the best signing we've made in quite a while, you'd have to say. And I think the big difference, we showed it there, those pitch positions, is that he's a true box-to-box midfielder, right? Goal threat and high energy. And if you want to play high press, he's giving you all those things. So we did show you in sort of previous games how you might have been if one analysis where we did like Sumari and Skip. I think this was against Birmingham, where they worked well together to press in defense and win the ball back, which was good. But unfortunately, those 2, in terms of going forward, they didn't really offer you much. Whereas with JJ, what we've seen is that he's a bit of everything, which is exactly what we need. And he's given us an extra dimension going forward. Now, you're right to mention Patson Daka. And it's funny because this is one that I've been thinking about all week, to be honest with you. And I was thinking, I wonder who Marti is going to play against Portsmouth. And I still don't know. He still might have just been rotating Jordan Ayew out. Because, Patson Daka still hasn't scored. That's a fact. And he still has had plenty of times where he picks up the ball. And you do think, a little bit of... in terms of the first touch. But he did lay off that very nice assist to JJ. Yeah. And I think he said this the last time that he was in Enzo's system as well, Patson Daka, which is that he generally does make the rest of the team play better, even if he himself isn't particularly the best. And you saw his high work rate. Like, he almost got a goal against Swansea by stealing the ball off the keeper, and Fatawu got on the ball. That pace allows you to close the opposition down quicker. And the other thing he gives you is that sometimes we sort of go forward, the other team deal with it, so we go back again, and their team pushes up. But then as soon as they push up, Vestergaard will go for the long ball over the top immediately. And because you've got Daka and he's got the pace, he can get there. And just as you said, the fact that we looked at his pitch positions and he can sort of get back and forth that bit faster does give you an angle of attack that you didn't have otherwise. So I think it's making a difference, is what I'm saying. And Sean says it. Oh, yeah.
I was going to say as well, I reckon Patson Daka must just be one of the most frustrating players for a manager because I'm sure in terms of application, how he carries himself, it all seems super positive. Obviously, the running he does, there's lots of that. I think managers must just look at him and go, if only you could score. like if you could score, you would be great. You'd be incredible. And he just can't do it. So no, I hear what you said. I actually do think it'll be Daka who starts. I do think it'll be Daka that starts against Pompey. Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, it has been said that he might be better with like a partner next to him. which would help him. And I think he has really struggled in the sort of lone striker role since he's come to England. Well, that's something we'll see. But he does, like I say, it's one of those things where it can improve the team if he's in it, right? And so we'll see, because he might not go for this, but I've got a feeling we did do a comparison of the strikers last week. But I think you do see the pitch. Basically, Daka actually helps you defensively, as weird as that sounds, even though he's a striker, because it means the whole team can push up, which means you're going to get more chances, which means you can score more goals, even if he's not the one that's scoring it. That's the theory there. And finally, you mentioned him first time, and I agree. I think I'd probably give him, I'll probably give Fatawu player of the season, just because he's never moaned at all, and he has literally got us points. But I think in terms of consistency, you got to say Harry Winks, and he wasn't in some of those previous games where we were struggling. The big thing is he controls the game. So again, he gives you that tempo and possession and recycling. So he gets everyone up, starts feeding the ball to everybody. He's calm on the ball. So even when the game's getting a bit chaotic, he can slow it down or speed it up if need be. And we always talk about this stat about him making the most line-breaking passes. I don't know if that's true necessarily this season, but him and Yannick have been right at it in terms of finding those killer through balls. And those three, I think, are a big reason as to why we've now shifted. So we started off pressing. Marti, I think, to be clever to me or fair to me, he goes, I cannot play this way with this particular lineup I've got. And he was playing like Lewis Page at one point in the team. You know, he was struggling for who's going to play in the position. Some people like the rioting. So he did the right thing, and he played a certain style that would get you through the next couple of games. And then once the transfer window was over and he got his reinforcements, he could go back to how he wanted to play. And, you know, we also spoke about the number 10 last week as well. And that number 10 is still a position that's up for grabs. And that could be another one that if it's as successful as a JJ, the team will absolutely cook. So that could be something we look at.
And just really quickly, and sorry if I'm jumping ahead and you've already got it, but you know, the graphic that I sent the other day, so I'll just bring it up here. You can see you can see Winks there. I still don't know if that Samare is our Samare or the other Samare, because there's a Sheffield United Samare, isn't there? So I'm not sure which one it is.
That will be our Samare, but that is one of the ones where I said to you before about, you know, I keep giving you a story about my friend with the data saying how Samari was always coming up as one of the highest rated players. And you do see that when, in terms of his stats, he is driving the ball forwards and passing it forwards, but just compared to Harry Winks, he just doesn't have the same effects. He doesn't even have the same effects as Ricardo. It's almost like he makes the passes, they just don't really come off or do anything spectacular, but it shows you that he's got the potential maybe to make something happen. Because in theory, he should be as good as Harry Winks. He just necessarily seems to be able to have that same effects going forward. So I do wonder if he's got like that same sort of maturity or ability to control the game, because we don't really see it with him. But good to bring that up. But okay, so that's the kind of first bit of the recent improvement. But you've kind of said it, and I agree, which is that, you know, we still have this kind of lack of creativity, and you called it out, like the box crashing and things like that. So this is something that we did show on the show before, but I want to go through it again. So I think this is the thing that you do have to be a bit nervous of with Leicester, right? And this is the quote unquote underlying data. And, you know, if you cast your eye back to when we had Steve Cooper in charge and we were outside of the relegation zone, but no one felt confident. And the reason we didn't feel confident is you looked at the underlying data and it was like, you know, you can't keep getting away with it. And I think this is a bit of a worry, because you can see here that the team who's easily the best team in the league, even though we probably should have beaten them, was Coventry. And you can actually see that Coventry, they've got 19 points. They actually should be on 21, right? So, you know, it's crazy how they have actually clearly, the underlying data says that they are smashing teams. I think what's a worry is, even though they haven't started particularly well, is that Ipswich are clearly number 2, even Southampton are number 3. And you did think, okay, Leicester would probably be about like top 10 or something like that. But look at that. We're all the way down here, which it really shows you that, you know, thanks to our players, we're getting away with it. Now, at the same time, I don't think it's anything to be scared of just yet, because, you know, data isn't everything. I think if you watch the games, I don't think it's as bad as that. I don't feel like we've definitely got away with so many points this season. But as you say, I think you do notice the quality there. And it is one of those, like, you know, it's your classic, you know, back in the day, teams used to go away to Man United or Man City. They'd play really well. They just lose the game. And
it's like 2 of our goals. The JJ goal, what was his XG, right, for that goal? If you had to guess, Anil, what are you saying? 0.0 something? 0.09?
Yeah, 0.01 or something like that. No, right? 0.1, but it's not great. It's not great.
But my point is that if he hadn't have scored that, we may have approached the rest of the game differently. You know, if we needed a goal,
Yes.
but we didn't need the goal because we did. Do you know what I mean? So that's,
Yeah,
I think
game
that's why.
state.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, I agree with what Buzz is saying here as well. It says Saints have had better stats, but they haven't looked good at all. Data is sometimes misleading. However, I do think there is an issue with XG creation. And I think that's my point here. I just want to say that, like, you know, I think we have improved in recent games, especially that last 20 minutes against Swansea. But I think throughout the whole season, we have not looked like a team that's going to absolutely slay the opposition. Like Coventry beat QPR 7-1 earlier in the season, and QPR is still in like the playoffs. So that's a very important, very impressive performance. And this is something I showed you before. And this was like the last time that I think Leicester really absolutely just destroyed a team from minute 1 till minute 90, even though we didn't score until the second half. And that was when we thrashed Southampton 5-0. Fatawu got his hat-trick, but Vardy and Ndidi got on the score sheet as well. And you can see here as well just sort of how high up we got. Vardy really attacking the box there. You know, Fatawu got a hat-trick, even though he's actually not as far forward as Mavadidi. Great performance. And this is what I wanted to show you as well. Is, you know, this was like a, you know, it might actually surprise you that even though we did this, for example, the team wasn't necessarily that much higher up. Yes, in general, in this game, especially Vardy was really high up. But actually, for the rest of the games, these pitch positions aren't that dissimilar to the way that we played under Marti. So it must,
especially the first and the last, especially the West Brom game.
Well, exactly, right. Well, it's funny you should mention the West Brom game. So what we did for this is I wanted to look at like, okay, how about the last time that we played West Brom when Enzo was in charge? And we'll come to that in a minute. But, you know, I'm going to compare the two. So here we've got like under Marti and our lack of cutting edge. And these are sort of some of the underlying issues we have in the team. So here we've got Wout Faes on the ball. He's going to play this out here. I think that's to Ricardo, and Ricardo Fatawu are going to team up here. And Ricardo's made the forward run. So he's going to get it into space. And he plays the ball in behind here to Jordan Ayew. And Ayew gets on the ball and you've got JJ attacking. And this is actually a good move, right? We probably should have scored from this. Ayew, was he greedy? I think he maybe should have squared it here. Maybe he could even like stop, cut back and play in JJ who's making the run. But it was a bit frustrating because, you know, this was probably one of the only moves we had in the match where we really looked like scoring. We kind of fluked one near the end. And our point here is that in this game, you know, we crashing the box enough? And you can sort of see in this particular game that, you know, this was actually our criticism of JJ in this game. Now, what's really good is he improved it after this. But in this particular game, basically, we weren't getting enough people into the box. And you can see, Ricardo got the ball, but it was mainly getting on the wide areas. Yes, in the attacking midfield, but he couldn't really get into the box too much. And JJ the same. He was getting it here in this sort of attacking midfield position, but he wasn't getting into the box as much as we'd like to see him.
And wasn't he in the 10 in that game though?
He was. He was. So it's actually interesting that by dropping him back, this is what happened. Is he actually became more attacking despite starting from a deeper position, right? Because he's got that energy. And I think he didn't have to rely upon holding his position so much more. So in his last 2 games that he's played for us, you can see that he got amazing stats, 9 key passes as well. So it's not just that he scored those goals. Those goals have obviously been very important for us. But he's also now, you know, being a real outlet in attack and making things happen, like the offensive version of Harry Winks, you could say. Oh yeah, even on below. But yeah, you can see that with his box crashing, he's much further higher up. He's on both sides now, and you can see that he's much more sort of concentrated in the box as well, where he's getting his goals, which is very good to see. So that's been a big difference to the way that we've been playing. And as we'll come to go and show you a bit later, that is something that's basically changed what Marti's needs to fix, or has fixed rather. So yeah, why weren't we scoring? You know, luckily we fixed it a little bit against Swansea. But I would say that in general, though, the squad is still lacking attacking players. Like if you compare it to the last time we got, I think now that JJ looks like he is the Dewsbury Hall replacement, that was a big worry before us. But who's going to be the other player? Like, you know, we haven't yet seen the number 10. Like, you know, it's sad you mentioned that actually Bilal is killing it at Stuttgart right now, right? But he never really did that at Leicester. He maybe would have done that under Marti's system had he stayed here. I've got Vardy here because none of our strikers, we played 9 games and only one of our strikers has scored a goal, and that's Ayew, and he's only got 1. Whereas in pre-season, I think Ayew got 3 or 4 and Daka got 3 or 4 as well. Carranza missed the 1-on-1 as well. So that, you know, one of these, you're not going to get promoted if your top striker's only getting 10 goals a season. So one of them's got to really start, you know, finding the back of the net. Mavadidi out of form. we've all seen it. We've mentioned this too many times on the show before. But what I am saying is the patterns of play, they are generating chances, but we're not generating enough of those chances. And one of the big reasons for that is that players aren't crashing the box enough. Although, like I say, that is starting to see like it could well be being fixed. So here's another problem that I wanted to show you that we see in a lot of our games. And let me ask you here, you're playing Football Manager, you're sitting on the wings there, you set your team up, right? The ball's come to your star boy here, Fatawu. What's the issue here with Fatawu now he's received the ball?
Well, you want him. I want him running in behind. I mean, he can take his man on. We know that because he's explosive. But I want him. I want a ball played in behind for him running through.
Absolutely. Well, as the name is here, is that our wingers are quite often isolated. They don't have anyone to sort of operate with, and so you end up
like
in a
he had the
situation...
Ndidi. He used to have the Ndidi. Yeah.
Exactly what I was going to ask you. Right. So here we've got a common thing that we're seeing in a lot of our games where Fatawi's got the ball and he's got one here, but you've almost, people are boxing him in. They know that he's the danger man. Exactly as Boggy says, isolation of wingers is our biggest issue. Now, because he's so good in this particular move, Fatawi, you look at that, he's got 4 men with him, but because he's so good, he still manages to get a really good cross in, right? But even if he gets a cross in, we still haven't really got a numerical superiority here. And you can see that we've got Ricardo here. But if this was sort of like under Enzo, you would expect him to be either here or even here in the inside channel. So he's got... Exactly. And so here's on the other side, we've got Rags's favourite player, Steffi Mavadidi. And I did this with that, well, I won't do it with you. He gets the ball here. Again, look, he's 2-on-1 here. And another player, even if he gets past them. So what's going to happen? And what ends up happening, unsurprisingly, is falls over, loses the ball, and West Brom get on the attack. So he's breaking down our attack. But if you think about it, you can't even really have that much a go at a player, because what's he supposed to do here? If you're 2-on-1, you've got to be a really, really good player to beat both of those. Again, you want to see Luke Thomas here or Bouba Samari. One of them has got to be here or they've got to be up here to give one of these defenders something to think about.
And then sometimes Ayew gets dragged out, and then you don't have a goal scorer, you don't have a striker in the box.
Yeah, exactly. You're talking to the crowd there. So what I will say though is that it's not happening all the time. Sometimes it does work quite well. So here we've got 4 players on the attack here. And now you can see that Ricardo has joined the attack as an attacking midfielder. Ball's going to come back to Yannick. So he doesn't just love a diag. He does also sometimes just love a good long ball through. This is what we talked about. I said with Daka actually, sometimes after going forwards, we'll actually go back deliberately to drag the opposition up high with us. That allows the ball in over the top. And even though this is Ricardo, who's not the tallest player, he does really well. He wins the ball here. But look again, we're attacking with 5. We've got JJ now who's ready to box crash, even though he said in this game he was playing as a 10. And now the ball comes to Fatawu. And this is much better, right? Now, even though he decides to go for a shot, he could go for a cross here to Mavadidi. He could try and play into the inside channel for Ricardo to run on. He could come back here for a bit more of a shot. So we were creating some sort of chances here, but it was inconsistent. Like here's another move where Mavadidi's got the ball. Now this type of run that JJ's making is actually perfect, right? That's the Dewsbury Hall of old, right? So that means that this player here, he can't now double up on Mavadidi. So here's the difference between that previous shot, right? Now, even though he could get 2-1, this guy has got a decision to make. He goes, if I go here, then oh my God, there's no totally through ball, or do I follow my man here? So in the end, he does go towards Mavadidi. JJ's made the run here, making some space. But the issue here, in terms of lack of support, is who's here though? Right? And look at
don't tell me he's running backwards.
He is running backwards, right? Now,
and there might be reasons. Yeah, I was going to say, do you think that's to cover the space JJ's left? Yeah. Okay.
Yes. And but I think this stuff can be fixed with time. So he is going back, but then Luke Thomas should be attacking the space. Like one of these 2 players needs to be here to fill in, and the other one does need to get back to it. So to be fair, because he's seen JJ's moved up, he's going back to try and cover, right? But unfortunately, this is going to kind of break down the attack. So Mavadidi gets to the byline. He even crosses with his weaker foot, and it's not a bad cross. But again, I'm looking at this shot, and how are you expecting to score when there's 6 men between you and whoever's going to get the ball? And as you say, where's the striker? The striker is actually in the shot just towards the right-hand side. But it just shows you that, but again, this is previous games. So this issue has started to be fixed, but it just is showing you our underlying problems that we're having. Now, here's an example of where it went well though. The problem is this requires a bit more sort of highly more technical sort of play. So this is JJ's first goal for Leicester. Great goal. And funnily enough, the 3 players that we mentioned before, they're all involved in this move. So the ball comes to Harry Winks, the controller, takes his time, scans, can take a look around. He spots JJ. And even though JJ's got a lot of people around him, he's managed to move into a position where he's in between the spaces, in the half space between all these players, in the hole, receives the ball. Look at it, he's going to get pressed here. So that's what Wrexham are trying to do, rob the ball off him. And so in this instance, this is where you got to be fast and you got to play one-touch football, right? Which was the Barcelona style. And fair play, he does it on the half turn, plays it first time into Daka, and immediately makes the forward run into the space that's been vacated because these players have pressed up to him. And fair play, even though Daka normally does have the touch of a donkey, he plays a nice first time pass into JJ, and he runs in to support the attack. And now you've got these 2 players who, I'll be honest with you, their body language isn't the best. They could maybe be on their haunches to attack the ball for a second ball. But it comes to JJ, and that's a brilliant finish, and that gives us the goal in this game. So that's what we're trying to do when it works with the fast sort of one-touch passing. But what I wanted to kind of compare and contrast it is to show you. So it looks almost, if you squint, like, isn't it exactly the same as Enzo? But then why is it not working as well? Could be players, but I want to show you like a bit of a difference. So here is under Enzo, and this is actually against West Brom as well. And here you can see we still got this sort of 3-2 shape. Now, the difference here is you got Ricardo, instead of inverting here into the attacking midfield position, he's inverted next to wings. And so that means in this game, it was Yunus Akgun. He's the attacking midfield. You got Casey McAteer here, and you got 5 players all in the line to attack. And this is the Enzo way. And you can see that in that system, again, this is a goal where indeed he scored against Southampton. You've got 2 players box crashing, right? You've got Vardy up there. You've also got a winger. Indeed, he comes in, gets the header. This was Vardy's goal as well. And look at how many people in the box. You've got 2 people here on the overload. You've got James Justin has joined the attack. Look how high up Indeed he is again. Loads of people attacking box. Vardy scores that for 4-0. And this was against West Brom again. Look how many people when we're attacking. Dewsbury Hall's on the ball. He's going to play in Mavididi here, but you've got, and that's another attacking midfielder. That's Ndidi. You've got, I think at this time, that might be Casey McAteer on the right hand side. So attacking with 5 people again, really box crashing and getting in. And look here, with Mavididi, here he actually decides to go for a shot. But look how many people are in the box to pick up the second ball if it was to happen. And again, here against West Brom as well. Now, we mentioned this from before with what Ricardo is doing. So here I've got Ndidi. What run do you think Ndidi's going to make here now that Fatawu is on the ball?
Indeed, he's going to underlap.
He's going to run into this space.
Underlap into there.
The infamous run. And sure enough, he makes that run. Fatawu just does a nice little easy through ball, comes to Ndidi. Ndidi gets the ball. And even though we haven't got that many players in the box, Ndidi, first time, this is like patterns of play, puts in a really nice cross. And actually, it looks like it's going for the striker. But look, there's a free space here if you can put the ball there for Dewsbury Hall to run onto. Comes to him and boom, gets the header.
That's a great delivery.
It is. And that's something that Wilf, I keep saying how, people knock him Wilf and Ndidi, but he managed to do what so far Samari and Skip have not done. And that is he managed to convert himself into a box crashing midfielder. And maybe he didn't score as many as Dewsbury Hall, but he did manage to have a lot of contributions. And one of our worst spells under Enzo was when Wilfred Ndidi got injured, you might remember. So, yes, we need someone to step up. Now, luckily, we've got JJ's coming to the team, and we need someone else, though, to also step up to that position. Is it going to be Ramsey or Reed? We shall see. So, what I wanted to show you here is the kind of conundrum and show you the sort of difference. So, here you've got like this kind of 5 at the back, 5 at the top shape, and here you've got the same sort of thing under Enzo, right? But here's sort of the difference. And what the big difference is, believe it or not, is there's actually more of a gap between the CDMs here and the attacking 5 than there is under Marti. So the way that Enzo kind of operated is he liked to have essentially 2 separate teams of 5, if that makes sense, within the same 10. So it was kind of like you've got your front 5 that work together and you've got your back 5 working together. And that meant that the front 5 could be more aggressive because they'd always know that you got this back 5 behind them in case things go wrong. Now, sometimes the back 5 would come up to support. Like sometimes you get Wout Faes or James Justin would also help the attack. But they'd only really do that if we really had the opposition under the cosh for a long period of time. Now, what you can see under Marti is that actually he has this concept of traveling together and he wants the whole team to shift up and attack much more of as a unit. Right now, that has pros and cons. On paper, it can make you even more attack-minded because you've got more options. You can pass the ball around. You've got more of this kind of one-touch passing. But the difference is that it also means that, like, you know, if things go wrong, you haven't got as many people in the right positions, you have to be a bit more careful and intricate. So here's really what I think the difference are. Enzo operates the team as 2 units of 5. Marti tries to include the whole team. Under Enzo, we could be more aggressive, as we always had 5 people back on transition. You did sometimes have a weakness where Ricardo was inverting, but in general, you had enough to get you out of trouble. But Marti's system, we saw with the JJ goal there, it can work, but notice that if I had to look at what goal was more difficult to score, the JJ goal or the goal where Wilfred Ndidi runs into the half space and dinks across over, I think the Jordan James goal is a harder goal to score. I think it looks sexier. I think it looks better. I think it makes me more excited to watch that type of goal being scored. But those one-touch passes can easily go astray. So Marti's system can work, but it requires crisp one-touch passing and high technical quality. And an overall issue that we've seen all season long is we aren't getting enough players into attacking positions by playing this way. And I think that's because we're waiting for the whole team to come up. Whereas with Enzo, because he's out of the 5, it's like when you attack, you all have to attack together. And it was very noticeable how you saw there, how when Wilfred Ndidi attacked the byline, Dewsbury Hall knew he has to attack. That's his job. No fucking about like Samari and turning back. You have to kill the team there and then. That's your job, right? If we lose it, someone else is going to help you out. That's not for you to worry about. So that's, I think, where the differences are. But I think we are improving in that particular area. So
do you think
Yeah.
do you think that's something that we will slowly progress towards, being more attacking, more box crashing? You know, you said it perfectly, I think, after the Preston game. Marti, maybe he went for the more stable approach, because the last thing you need in this league when the fans are fragile is back-to-back defeats in the Championship, because Leicester fans will go into a meltdown, right? So maybe the plan is to get more, you know, go back to that. It's just for now he's been a little bit more. I mean, people have accused him of this about having the handbrake on a little bit.
Yeah, and I think that's deliberate. So I think we're starting to see basically in the last couple of games the handbrake is coming off. I do think the team in general still doesn't want to play the ball as fast as he would like. You can see that they still want to play a more controlled style where Enzo's trying to coach. Sorry, that Enzo had them, whereas Marti's trying to coach that out of them. But I think as well that you have to say that, like, you know, the reason why we started like a house on fire under Enzo is we basically had a much better pre-season. We had all the players in early. He could work with them. We're still in pre-season. Like, and normally what we're seeing this season, I think, is more reflective of what tends to happen, is that a new manager comes in. It takes them a bit of time to get used to how that, like I mentioned this last week to Doug, but Jurgen Klopp, when he was in charge of Liverpool, for the first 6 months, he had a worse record than Brendan Rodgers did, right? But when it clicked big time. They're one of the best teams you've seen in Premier League history. Even Guardiola, in his first season, they finished 4th. I remember they came to the King Power and we dicked them with Jamie Vardy scoring a hat-trick, right?
I think Arteta finished 8th, 7th, Arsenal in their first year. They did win the FA Cup, but yeah, you know what I mean.
Well, and a lot of people argued that if they didn't win that FA Cup, he wouldn't have been able to keep his job. So you are going to see that. So I think what we're seeing is the norm, with Enzo as the exception. And we were lucky that happened. And that was, you know, well, basically we cheated, let's be honest, because it seems a PSR that we got away with it. So I think we are going to see that stuff improve. I think as well that Aaron Ramsey getting sent off 25 minutes into his debut, a proper bozo moment, has cost us, because otherwise I think with 3 whole games of him and Jordan James possibly being in the team, we'd have probably improved a lot. So yeah, you got to say that this is a manager who hasn't really been able to sign any players. The one player that is truly integrated into the team now is Jordan James, and who's been our best player in the last couple of games? It's been him, right? Harry Winks, that was a bit unfortunate that, you know, he clearly wanted to leave earlier. Now that he's decided to stay. We saw in one of the graphics, he actually looked happy with Marti putting his arm around him. So I think he's done a good job there. Bilal the Rat leaving, that's not helped us either. You know, who would have known? If we'd have gone early, maybe would have helped us out as well, but he didn't. So I think it's helping. I do think, though, we covered this last week, that we still got 3 problem positions in the team. One is not so important, which is the left back. Clearly, I think both Luke Thomas and Christensen, neither one is the long-term answer, but you'll probably get away with it in the Championship, although we did see against Preston, it cost us. But the other 2 positions are the 10, because I showed last week 7 different players have played in that position. No one succeeded there yet. Probably Aaron Ramsey will do it. But the striker as well is that, you know, 1 goal in 9 games. Someone's got to find their finishing there. And there was a question earlier. Maybe we can start going through some of the comments now. But I mean, I don't know. I will say that, to be fair, though, we haven't really created that many chances for our striker. exactly, I would actually argue that probably the striker who's had the cleanest chance all season was Carranza for 4-1 against Swansea, which he missed. But, I'm not going to make up my mind on someone, still getting bits and pieces. But he doesn't look like, he doesn't look like Jordan James, put it that way. He doesn't look like he's going to become the next Leicester City hero. We'll have to see. But yeah, that's basically what's happened, yeah.
I was just going to say, the beautiful frame said, never wanted a player to succeed more at a club than Daka, but he's just so poor in front of goal. Horrid first touch 90% of the time too. Luckily for that Wrexham game, he found that 10% where his touch was okay playing in JJ. There's a similar comment here as well. Actually, no, that was the one. Here's a good question. I mean, stamina. Do we have players which have the stamina and ability to press? I feel we get exposed. I think we do in them. I think they can press.
I think Jordan James coming into the team has allowed us to do that. But
yes,
I actually think this is a very good comment, because I think the problem is that I think, unfortunately, we've seen that we maybe don't. I think we do have enough players to have an 11 that can do it. But do I think we've got a squad of 23? I don't think so. Right? Because I was expecting in this division, especially for, I'll be honest with you, I think Skip and to a lesser extent Sumare, although to be honest with you, the money that we paid for Sumare, I thought they'd be looking different gravy, because you can knock them all you want, but you have to say that Wout Faes and Yannick Vestergaard at championship level, they look elite. They look like two of the best players in the entire division, right? But why is Oliver Skip and why is Bouba Sumare not looking like that? Again, Harry Winks, you can knock him all you want in the Premier League, but in the Championship, there's no better central midfielder than him, right? We've shown the stats last week. He's just absolutely dominating games, right? So those two, I was expecting them to be at worst locks to do with a job that James Milner, Jordan Henderson, Gigi Wijnaldum played when Klopp had Liverpool, right? Where those guys didn't have technical quality per se, but they got up and down so much that they allowed their fullbacks and their wingers to support the attack. And they haven't really done that. So that concerns me. So the problem is, I think, especially when we come up to Christmas, is that I don't think we can play that high pressing style the whole way through. I think even under Enzo, towards the end of the season, we started not doing as well because players were tired. Now, to be fair to Marti, he has found another way to get through games and get results by going for that more defensive handbrake on style. So it maybe isn't the end of the world, but I think that, I think in an ideal world, we need some more lungs in there, to be honest. I would almost go as far as saying we could do with another 8, another number 10, even though we've just signed them, right? Because the other options we've got in the squad aren't that great.
Azola said, let's be patient to manager. He built the squad one game at a time. I mean, going back to the isolated winger situation here, Boggy says, I think this is why Steffi's struggling. You would say Abdul would be struggling if he wasn't scoring bangers, because I think that's a fair comment to make in there. I think he has struggled, Abdul. He's just... Yeah. He's just come out. Is it 3 now? I think he scored 4, maybe 3 or 4 screamers.
Yeah. Remember that one against Fiorentina? That was another screamer. So
absolutely.
Yeah, as we've seen there, what we need to do is we need to give him more support. But it is happening more often in games. But we have to do it more often. And I think that's the thing to watch out for, Marty. Like, what you might notice in some of these slides is that when we attack, we're still attacking more often with 4 than with 5. Now, that can be okay to attack with 4, but when people are doubling up on Fatawu, which most teams are doing, that is causing us an issue. So, yeah, we need to... Because, I think especially with Mavadidi, you're seeing that if you gave him someone else to let him run at someone one-on-one, he's going to be more successful at doing it. Even Jeremy Monga has been good, but he, like I say, I think he'd be absolutely unleashed if we were going a bit more aggressive. So let's see if Marti will get there. But do remember that he's just getting, the team's got bad morale. He's working it into them. So give it some time, but hopefully we will see those changes happen. Yeah.
Sean says middle of the park isn't getting stretched enough, so it breaks down easier. Also, Sean says we would need to sign a striker in January. As we'd have. I'm not sure on this. I think this sounds crazy that I'm saying this, but because as you said, only one of our strikers has scored. But I don't know if we do rush into signing a striker in January. I just think that although Daka's gone, did Zambia qualify for AFCON? I know Ghana didn't. Ghana didn't. So Ayu's still here. So Ayu and Carranza. I don't want us to panic, Anil, and sign a striker in January that is just a bag of shit, basically. Because I think we can, and I know that this is probably the story of the season, Anil. I think we can get by with what we've got. Do you get what I mean?
I agree, and I think that's why we're third. Is we're definitely, rather than looking, because I think we're expecting the points deduction is rather than looking to dick the league like we were 2 seasons ago, we probably accepted that we're going to be in playoffs, so we're trying not to like overly kill ourselves because, you know, even if you sign a striker, is it really going to make a difference? 5 goals between, you know, it might finish, maybe instead of finishing 5th, you finish 4th, maybe instead of finishing 6th, you finish 5th, but they're the positions you need to get into. That said, you know, we did sign 3 players on loan, but I was a bit surprised that we didn't sign 5 players on loan because you're allowed to sign 5 players on loan. I think especially the left back position I was expecting. So who knows? Maybe if we do need someone, we still have a few tricks up our sleeve, even if they're quote unquote only loan signings that we make in January. So maybe we can do that. But like I say, I think as for right now, you have to say that it's not like a striker's missing loads of chances. Like if you actually remember do you remember we played that game against Leeds away at Elland Road? We were absolutely smashing them. And like Daka missed so many gilt-edged chances. I think Mavadidi missed an easy one. And that was one where Daka, you were just like, come on, bro. And then I think he played against Plymouth and he also missed like an easy one. Like that's different. If you're getting someone that's missing obvious chances, then you do need a striker. But I actually think we might still need a striker, but that striker isn't getting enough service right now. To be fair, they're not attacking the box as much as we would like. So, you know, you could make that argument, but I think we can wait and see on that one.
Well, yeah. I mean, Sean said, you know, come July, we won't have anyone. Daka and I are up. My response to that, and I'll say it again, I don't like the idea of signing a striker in January because we could be promoted. We could be promoted come the end of the season, and suddenly you've just signed a championship striker, whereas you could have signed a Premier League striker if you left it 6 months. So, and you know, knowing our club, we sign a striker in January, we then don't sign one in the summer, right? So you get what I'm trying to say. I think, you know, as long as, if you've got Carranza, Ayew and Daka until the end of the season, I think that's enough in this division. And I would go as far as saying I think it's down to Marti to actually try and get the best out of them, because there's no way, Anil, those 3 strikers should be on 1 goal.
Yeah.
You know, 9 games in. You know, that they are... I don't care what you say about Daka. I hate Daka as well. I really don't like him. But you saw it under Enzo. He scored, 9 goals, right, in the season. And he did have a little very small purple patch. And Jordan Ayew, I think, again, is good enough to score goals at this level. He just needs to be in the right areas. And as you said, Anil, it's not like they're all missing chances for fun, right? They're just not getting the chances at the moment. And that's down to Marti to fix that, in my opinion.
Get the whole team.
Even if it's Ayew who is deciding not to get in those areas, get in his fucking head and make sure he does, right? So this is fair as well. We haven't seen enough of... I mean, I called him shit the other day, but it's just from what we've seen. But it's too early, right, Anil? He could come up good.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say he's been poor so far. But I mean, I can remember Ricardo looking poor in his first 5 games for Leicester. I remember Johnny Evans looking like a car crash first couple of games, and he turned out to be brilliant. So you can't really judge someone until they've had sort of 10 or 15 games. He hasn't even had a start yet. So let's let them have some more time. I think, you know, just the international breaks, he'll have had time to work with a lot of the players. Like the only ones really that will have been away will be... Actually, I'm not sure if Daka will have been away or not. So Carranza won't. So who knows? Maybe we'll have more time working with that lot. You know, hopefully these patterns of play will be a bit better. There's another international break, believe it or not, coming up.
No, there ain't.
I think there is. Yeah, I think there is. Not in this particular patch, but I think there is another one. You know, at some point, I've heard those 3 international breaks.
We can see the dates: 18th, 21st, 25th, 1st, 4th, 8th. Yeah, maybe between the 8th and the 22nd.
Yeah, it looks like it, doesn't it? That's a 14-day. So there you go. That's another break. But I mean, well, let's speak about the fixtures. We've got them up now. I mean, still, it looks pretty friendly in terms of what we've got here. I mean, Borough's probably the next, you know, properly. I mean, look, you could still drop points against any team. That's the weird thing with this, the season this so far, the championship. And then Southampton have disappointed. Sheffield United, it's a shame that Wilder is back, but you know, I look at all these fixtures and, you know, I'd be expecting to win every single one. We won't, but, you know, there isn't a single game there yet that we'd play. And, you know, Coventry might have been the best team in the league, but when we played against us, they should have been beaten, right? Mavadidi had the gilt-edged chance. So looking quite good there. So how are you feeling about this next run of games?
Well, we spoke about this on the call-in show, and I grouped... I said the next 4. That's where they're the 4 I grouped together. maybe I should have grouped the 5 because Middlesbrough's there, but I grouped the 4 because I think they are the 4 easiest on paper, right? Out of the fixtures. And look, mate, I would expect, and and when you're entitled, you can't expect anything in football, but I would expect 9 points from that. I think Portsmouth, Hull, Millwall, Blackburn, I think we could get 12, to be honest. I think we could get 12. But 9 points, mate, I think should be the aim minimum, to be honest with you. And, I know Coventry are on fire, mate, but 9 points there, I think that could put us definitely second, but it could be top with 9 points out of them 4, depending on how Cov do. I think they're gonna drop some points somewhere, that's for sure. So stay tuned for that. But Middlesbrough, we know, will be a tough game. Absolutely. Although Portsmouth just beat them, actually, I think, in the last game.
Well, that's the thing. I think, to be honest, if I look at Middlesbrough's underlying data, they had a good start, but I don't think they look a bit like they were outperforming. I mean, they still probably make the playoffs, but we'll have to see what happens. But I think the only thing that I fear, though, is that, like, the last time we did something like this, I think we were all having to go at Steve for, like, Steve was like, I think we might only get 7 points from those games. We ended up only getting 5 or something like that, right? So
4.
Oh no, we did get 7. He was right. Out of the
7,
5
yeah.
games, he said 7 points, and that's actually what we got in the end. So 4 draws. He probably thought 2 wins and a draw, and maybe some losses. So you don't know. We've got to get onto it. But I mean, look at that. It's 7:45 kickoff on Saturday. That's an interesting one. So let's see what we can do here. But yeah, I mean, we need to get a bit of momentum. We've got the perfect opportunity to do it. Here we go. Here's his prediction.
Ooh. Hold on. Are the maths right there? You can't get 14 points.
Is he saying 14 points from all 10 of these games?
Oh, from all 10? I hope not.
Let's see
Steve.
what he has to say for himself.
I hope not, Steve. I hope not. You don't mean 14 from all 10. That wouldn't be great. Oh, wait. Okay, he's coming. Come on, Steve.
First 4. Let me make this cleaner for him so he can.
Yeah, first 4 games. Everybody in the chat as well. Join in. Everybody in the chat. Put in what you think we're gonna get from them 4 games. 12 points up for grabs. I'm gonna. I said what I would expect, and I'll just say that's what I want. 9 points a nil, and I think 9 points from them 4 would be a good return. I think that's a good. return.
Absolutely. I mean, look, I think the gold standard is you want to be at 2 points per game. That's what will get you promoted in general. Although last season, because of 100 points, it wouldn't. But this time is different. So yeah, it's interesting seeing like what people are saying here. Still, he loves his 7s, doesn't he? He loves his 7s, the Steve. Well, problem is I can't have a go at him. He was prophetic last time round. Yeah, another one says 7 points, 12 points. Don't know. Yeah. I'm going to be optimistic and go for 10 as well, but I don't know why I'm being so optimistic. If you look at the underlying data, we probably shouldn't get it, but I don't know. I believe in Leicester. I believe. What can I say?
Yeah, I'm going for 9. I mean, Dimitri says hilariously, but Leicester need to be at the top of the table for my broadcasting company to air their matches. That's interesting. Steve thinks we'll beat Portsmouth, lose to Hull, draw with Millwall, and beat Blackburn. Mystic Steve, screenshot that, Steve, and let's see what happens. But yeah, I think 9 points I would be absolutely delighted with, and I think it's a good return. I would prefer 10, obviously, like you said, and 12 even better. But 9 points, and I don't think anyone can really complain about that. Although there will be some. We will lose to Millwall and win the rest, and everyone will kick off saying, "Oh, look how we fought," well, whatever. But yeah, and we'll just have to keep our eyes on Coventry and see how they get on, because that is an interesting development, isn't it? Them being top of the table. Although I've seen Frank Lampard linked with a couple different clubs, to be honest with you, mate. I've seen him.
I saw him linked to Rangers. That's right. I mean, I would say with them though that they had invested in their squad for a long time. Like I think after they lost the playoffs, they were underperforming for quite a while. They've had a settled squad, but I mean, your point about Daka, like I was gonna say, Haji Wright, his first touch is also pretty bad. He can finish though, and they've got him on 7 goals, so that's all we need to improve. But look, let's leave it there. The next game is on Saturday, so wow, 7:45. We're gonna be a late one for that watch along, but that'll be a fun one. So yeah, we've got Foxes then tomorrow. What's coming up on the Blue Tinted Glasses?
Yeah, we'll have Foxes then tomorrow night, and then Thursday we will have a match preview with a Pompey fan. His name is, just give me one sec, 'cause I was going to say it. We're going to have on Jake from Express FM, which I think is Portsmouth's local radio. So we'll have him on with us on Thursday for the match preview. The previews are back. They will be back from now on, so stay tuned for that. But yeah, Fox's Den, 7 p.m. tomorrow, of course.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for joining us tonight. Like the stream, comment below what you think we're going to get from the next 4 games, and we'll see you next time on Blue Tinted Glasses. See you later, guys. Bye-bye.
Big shout out to our new sponsor, The Beautiful Frame. They have absolutely smashed it with this Jamie Vardy piece. They're a local Leicester business as well, which makes it even better. And not just Leicester, they do prints for other clubs too. Honestly, perfect if you're stuck for a birthday or Christmas present. The best bit, they've sorted Blue Tinted Glasses followers with a discount. Just use the code BTG12 at checkout for money off. Grab yours now at thebeautifulframe.com. The link is in the description of the video.